Good morning, chemistry students. This is Mrs. Mitzik. I want to tell you a little bit about section 9.1. Before we get started, I want to really emphasize that chapter 9 sets you up for success in the second semester of chemistry. Make sure that you have a good working knowledge of how to do this material in chapter 9 without having to use Google to assist you. So, with that, having said that, let's move on. You should have your periodic table that has your ion chart on the back that you received if you were in class. If you do not have that, in today's folder, there is a copy for you of the ion chart and the periodic table that you can download or print out. You will need to reference that throughout the entirety of this unit, so make sure you have that handy. Just a reminder, ionic compounds, it consists of a positive metal ion and a negative nonmetal ion, and their combination is made so that the overall net charge is 0. Make sure you keep that in mind. So let's talk about monatomic ions. Monatomic ions consist of a single atom. Single means mono. Mono means one, okay, with a positive or negative charge. Let's look at cations first. We know that metallic elements, what they do is they like to lose their negative electrons, which make them positive ions. These positive ions are called cations. When you're looking at groups 1A, 2A, and 3A, we know that they lose electrons. They form cations with positive charges equal to their group number. So if you're looking at this figure, we can see that this group is going to lose one negative electron, making them a positive 1 charge. 1A, positive 1. Same thing's true here, 2A, 2 plus, 3A, 3 plus. When you are naming a cation, what you will do is you'll name the metal and then you'll follow with the word ion or cation. So you would call Na plus the sodium ion or the sodium cation. Ca2 plus would be the calcium ion. Al3 plus would be the aluminum ion. With anions, we know that nonmetals are typically going to form those anions. They gain electrons because they gain negative electrons, making a negative charge. The charge of any ion of a group A nonmetal will be determined by subtracting 8 from the group number. So if we're looking at this chart right here, we can see group 5A, 5 minus 8 makes these negative 3 in their charge. These would be then negative 2. And then this group right here, the halogens, would be negative 1. 7 minus 8 would be negative 1. The way that you name a monatomic anion is that you start with the stem of the element name and then you lop off the ending and add IDE. So instead of saying fluorine ion, you would lop off the ending and put fluoride, chloride. Instead of selenium ion, you call it selenide. These endings, these names, actually are on that chart of ions. So if you are kind of troubled and you're like, ooh, do I call it fluorine or fluoride? That chart of the ions you'll be able to use on your test, and you can see clearly it lists it as fluoride. So use that chart for reference. Get used to using that a lot. Now, some of the transition metals, they do some weird, wonky things. Okay, so they form more than one cation. We won't get into why that is. The charges of cations in many transition metals must be determined from the number of electrons they lose. Remember, electrons are negatives, so if you lose negatives, you become positive. So looking at F2+, they lost 2 electrons, Fe3+, losing 3 electrons. So let's see how we name this. So there are 2 methods used to name ions. One of them, the classical method, isn't very good. Okay, so we tend to use what's called the stock system. What you do with the stock system is you're going to place a Roman numeral in parentheses after the name of the element to indicate the numerical value of the charge. So for example, with iron, that's the +2 charge, you can see it's named iron and then parentheses Roman numeral 2. If it's iron 3+, then you're going to put the iron Roman numeral 3 ion. Do you see how that works? These Roman numerals are only used if you have a metal that can have more than one charge. Again, Pause the video, look at the back of your periodic table where the chart of the ions is, and you will see that iron has 2 charges it possibly could have. Lead is another one. Manganese is another one, for example. How do you figure out which one you would use? You're going to look at which one what makes the overall charge equal to 0 for that ionic compound, and that's going to come in a future unit. This is the old, less useful method. I'm not going to talk about it, but you'll see that there's some examples here in this column here, but class out, you don't need to know it. So copper 1, if you look on your chart of ions, it does list as copper, Roman numeral 1 ion. Copper 2, copper, Roman numeral 2. Notice the charge is the same as the Roman numeral. Charge, same as the Roman numeral. And one more time, you will only use Roman numerals if you have a choice on what charge your metal can be. And the only ones that we'll be working with are the ones that are listed on your chart of ions. So use that chart of ions for reference to let you know, do I use a Roman numeral or not here? And there's transition metals that only do have 1 ionic charge. So I don't want you to think all transition metals are going to require Roman numerals. Only the ones that can form more than 1 charge. So I'd like to give you this a shot. I want you to, each of these 4, I want you to write the ion that's formed. Okay, I would like you to name the ion and then also indicate if it's a cation or anion. So pause the video and then check your work. So looking at this, we have potassium. We know that potassium forms a positive ion, and we name it just the plain old potassium ion, and this is the ion that's formed. Sulfur is an anion. We lop out the ending, the and take it and put in "ide," and it's an S-2 ion. Lead, if you lose 4 electrons, that means you become +4. So that means it's going to be the lead 4 ion, and if you looked on your chart of ions, you would see that listed there. Okay, and this is what the lead 4 ion looks like. Notice, this is the charge that coincides with this. And again, the Roman numeral is only used because you have more than 1 choice for what ion lead can form. And then you've got bromine going to bromide, and here's your ion. So the types of elements, what types tend to form cations, which type tend to form anions? Pause, answer the question. Metals are going to form the cations, nonmetals form anions. So looking at polyatomic ions, how are they different from monatomic ions? How are they similar? They're going to be different because they have more than 1 atom in the formula. They're going to be similar in that the entire grouping is still going to have just 1 charge for the entire thing. So unlike a monatomic ion, polyatomic ions is composed of more than 1 atom. Poly means many, so it's going to be more than 1 atom. But like a monatomic ion, a polyatomic ion behaves as a unit carrying just 1 charge. So for example, the ammonium ion, which is NH4, that whole unit has a +1 charge, not just with the H, but with the entire thing has a +1 charge. So other examples, you can see them on your periodic or on your chart of your ions. The sulfate ion, it's SO4 -2. There's also a sulfite ion you'll see. It's SO3 -2. Be really careful that you look at the endings of these polyatomic ions. A lot of them end with 8 or ite. Okay, and those 8 and ite endings are determined by how many oxygens you have in there. You don't need to know that. All you need to know is how to look at your chart and be able to name that ion. We give the names to you on there. Chart of the ions, other thing, the arrangement of it. The top half are your cations, the lower half are your anions. So that'll help you in your searching. Here are other examples. Ammonium is the only positive or cation polyatomic ion that we have on our chart of ions. Here are some other examples. Okay, and there's phosphite and phosphate, sulfate, sulfite, nitrate, nitrite. There's chlorate, chlorite, and hypochlorite, and perchlorate. There's a lot of different ones, but just use your chart of ions for reference. So when I'm looking at this right here, you can see there's other examples that are given to you. Okay. So overall, these are your key concepts. And then your key terms are listed right here. That's it. If you have any questions, as usual, ask your teacher. Have a great day.